that I've definitely. He has a book coming out, or I think it's out. I'm not sure. It's coming out. Okay, he can hear me. He said it's coming out. And I'm definitely. We don't have too many opportunities to have the conversation that we are going to have with our next guest. Being a black Republican in the Trump era. This is a topic that I am very interested in. And I want to hear from my brother Peter Sherrill.
I know what it's like to be a Republican Latina in the Trump era.
I actually had her write an article for Black Westchester.
I'm being a Hispanic.
Being Latina and Republican in the Trump era. She wrote that article. So if this wasn't the title of your book, I would have already have you written the same article about being black.
Well, the actual official title is The Life of a Black Republican.
The Life of, okay.
In Trump's America.
Trump's America. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Now, when does the book come? Oh, wait. First off, it's not your first time, but let me give you your around the wrong there you go. Welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And real quick, yes, Richard, the lady that we had on, Simone McCauley, she is one of 3 candidates running for the city council position in the 3rd district of Yonkers.
And the other two candidates are Dennis Robinson and Tasha Diaz.
Yes, and we will be having them on the show if they accept our invitations in the future. More candidates will be coming on after they officially make the ballot, but this candidate wanted to come on now, so we
Can I just do a real quick disclaimer? I don't want to speak on behalf of Tasha because she's not on the. She's got to get on the ballot first, and then let her announce and then she can speak on it. But being that she brought it up, the first thing out of her mouth was that I had to say what I said, which is I support Tasha.
And I appreciate that you putting that disclaimer out there, so a full disclosure. So we're moving on to my brother Peter Sherrill.
Yes.
So when and I'm sorry if I asked you this already. When I'm reading comments, I got people hit me on my text and everything. When exactly does the book drop?
The book should be out in 2 to 4 weeks. It's going to print this week.
Okay, is it going to be an out of the trunk type of deal? Is it going to be you went through a publishing company and it's going to be in all the bookstores, or how's
Well, as you know, I've published several books myself.
Right, I think I met you because you published Lowe's
Moore's autobiography.
And shout to Lowe's Moore because I saw him somewhere on the shot. Check it, I think he's listening.
I published Lowe's Moore's Ernest Richardson, who actually used to be fire commissioner for Mount Vernon. I did his story, Poor Man's Lotto.
You had a book?
Yeah, Poor Man's Lotto, Memoirs of a Black Firefighter, man. That was an incredible story.
Ernest, man, you didn't tell me, man. I got to check out your book, man. What's going on? You called me about everything else. I ain't hear about that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I did a story about individual who used to work for Mount Vernon, who recently died from the respiratory illness down at 9/11. It's called One of Thousands, man. Personal account of the days of 9/11. He was there like right after the towers fell, man, and then the government didn't want to actually claim responsibility for the people who were really dying from those illnesses. And I did his story, man. It was amazing. It was a short story, but it was an amazing story, man. So I'm kind of actually become skilled in this thing.
Okay.
So yeah, so that allows me to publish without being restrained and share information.
Right.
That a publisher might not allow you to publish because of certain conflicts of interest or things of that nature.
So again, you do have set up so you'll be in all the bookstores and all the Barnes and Nobles.
Absolutely,
and all.
Absolutely.
Because I've done a book,
Amazon.
Right, I've done one book and I did it out of the trunk, so I didn't have it in all the bookstores. But you had, we was doing book signings and stuff, and people had to come see me then, and So
there's nothing wrong with coming out of the trunk.
And no,
nothing wrong with it at all.
Because at least that money go to you. That you don't.
Oh
split.
Because
you're not splitting nothing after that.
That book game is I tell people that book game is almost as funky as the record industry. Yes, buddy. Man, they are hijacking like 50% off the top before you even get started.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's interesting. So now, to the topic at hand, what is it like being a black Republican in Trump's America? Like, what is that? Like, first off,
Give us a
like,
synopsis.
yeah, because like, bro, for real, Dr. Bob is not here,
Right.
and he don't think no black people should be Republican with this Republican Party, and he would be
Absolutely.
giving you all kinds of analysis and the history of all this.
I have
He's not
history,
here to
too.
do that, so to
Well-
give you the numbers and stuff, but. So we need to hear why.
Okay, so it starts out like this. You know, the transition happened in 2011. Okay, but the catalyst for it began probably with my disenfranchisement with black leadership in the Democratic Party during the Texaco racial discrimination lawsuit that I was involved in, which I wrote a book about that too, Black to the Future, from the Plantation to the Corporation, which I believe you're familiar with. Yes, which is actually in the Schomburg Museum Library, and I recently posted something about that. You know, how Jesse, Al, and who many blacks in the community are not familiar with, Deval Patrick, before he became the governor of Massachusetts, they kind of finagled this deal with Texaco to have him be the chair of the diversity task force. And they automatically took $35 million out of the class for that task force. And then 1 year later, Deval Patrick became the head of Texaco's legal department, corporate counsel. And from there was his rise. And next thing you know, he was governor of Massachusetts. And I take great exception to that still till this day.
So do you catch? I see Trump.
Oh, God, Lord, have mercy.
And I can't imagine having an R by my name while this man is in office. And then I've had the same conversations with Joe Pinion. I've had the same conversation with Yonkers. Remember Joe Pinion, who ran for Shelley Meyer's seat on the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
Being a black Republican on top of that in this era has to be like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
share that experience with us.
The first sentence in the book, if not like being a black man in America is hard enough, it's tough enough. Now this country has gone and elected this individual. Thank you, sir, as the 45th president of the United States. And so because people now know that I'm a Republican, they ask me, did I vote for Donald Trump? And I'm like,
did you?
Hell.
Okay.
And then I put the expletives in my book. I'm like, hell. And there's no way. But you know what? It's the same thing. It's like we automatically think that when you're a Democrat, in which we had this conversation earlier, we just vote for whoever that Democratic candidate is on the board. We just vote Democrat. And if you're a Republican, you just automatically, by default, vote for whoever the Republican candidate is. How can I vote for somebody who is supporting the alt-right? And I ask myself the question, it's like, but that's how we do politics. And that's how we think about politics. It's like, there's no way. I mean, I've been fighting racism and racists virtually all my life since I was integrated at the age of 8 from Nathan Hale School in Mount Vernon over to home school on the north side of town. And you know they didn't want us there, and they made it quite clear. And then, you know, going to school in the South for college in Florida, man, it was, I didn't even know, I couldn't believe I was in America still. It was like I was like in the 1950s.
There was been political correctness since then in the South, but now that we have the current president, it's like I've talked to some people that said, you know, they have a white neighbor that they lived next to for 10 years. They've eaten at each other's house. Their kids play together, have parties together and everything. And they're like, who the hell is this person now that Trump is in office? Like, he just pulled the veil off the... It's like, you don't have to be politically correct. If you're a racist, you can be proud and state your racist views, and there's no repercussion at this point.
I wish I had the hard copy of the book so I could show you the cover, because the cover is the picture of the rally that they held at Charlottesville around Jefferson's statue. Actually, I got the rights to that from a young lady from Reuters who shot that photo, man. And I tell you, man, it's just, unimaginable that people could walk around, gather with tiki torches, and there's no police. If there was, and I look at it and I say, if it was somebody black, man, they would have the riot squad, they would have the SWAT squad, and they would have the National Guard out there, ready to, and they would have been in full riot gear for us. And therein lies the problem. And in actuality and honesty, when I did make that switch, it was in hope of bridging that gap. And I became pretty close with some people in the Tea Party, and I began to learn things that I did not know, especially historically, about the Republican Party and its inception. And people may not realize, but they are the ones who actually legislated the Emancipation Proclamation. But, people don't remember that. They think the Democrats did it.
Okay, but I have to put, I hear that, and while that is true, this is not that Republican Party.
Exactly.
And this is not that Democratic Party that was in power back then. These are not the same Democrats and Republicans that did that.
However, if you, like you said, Dr. Bob would bring you all this history about it, and see, that's what happened when the switch, it forced me to go back and look, where did this transition take place? All right.
Well, Bob would broke all that down for you real quick. He did.
Yeah.
But he has that on the top of his head. He just came with the statistics, the years, everything.
And it may not seem like it's the same party. Well, with Trump, and they automatically just came out of the cornfields and just they got activated. But and also and just to bring out a point in the book, there's a chapter, and I think everybody ought to read this chapter. It's chapter 3, and it's called The Puppet Master. And there's one man who is behind this whole orchestration of activating this alt-right movement in the Republican Party. One man, and he's in control and owns a lot that is tied in, and there has not been one mention of his name throughout all these investigations or Senate hearings.
Okay,
which
but
I think is phenomenal.
I want to stop.
Wait, who is that man?
You gotta read the book.
Oh, snap.
I'll tell you offline. I'll tell you offline.
You gotta tell me.
Oh, you will not believe this. It's amazing.
So, with hearing all that you're saying about Trump and his stranglehold on the Republican Party, how do you, as a black man, still justify yourself still being a Republican? For the listeners that really can't figure that out.
It's like, where do I go for? What is it? 8 years I've been a Republican now, and it's been an interesting journey. And it's like, where do I go now? It's like, what can I do to change the direction of this alt-right movement? And that is the challenge. Do I go back to the Democratic Party? There's just no way I'm going back to the Democratic Party. That is not happening. And do I become an independent? How much can you do as an independent?
How much can you do as a black Republican against the alt-right?
Well, that's one of the reasons for the book.
I got you too.
I'm not trying to get you, but that is the that is the reason for this book, and that is why, when you offered me the opportunity, this is like the first time I'm like publicly speaking about this, and it was like, you know what, I was headed to the gym, to the steam room and the jacuzzi, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go see my brother AJ and have this conversation, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, and it is my hope, and it's my belief that this book, with the information that's in it, can actually change what's going on in the Republican Party, because it exposes who has orchestrated this whole movement.
I got that, but we have a president.
He's a
wait. No,
okay.
We have
go
a
ahead.
president who, going into the election, tapes like the Access Hollywood tape came out, and it didn't make a difference. A president who has publicly said he can go down on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody in the head and kill them, and nothing can happen to him. A person, there's no shame that you can give this person. There's no There's no norms that you can do to make him change his ways. And he has a stranglehold on the Republicans who normally would be against these type of things if it wasn't him, but stand knowing that it's wrong, stand behind him, and regurgitate his propaganda.
I agree with you.
So
100%.
so I'm just saying, I'm not asking you to give your book away.
No.
What I'm saying is, how much power do you really think you, as a black Republican, your book is going to have? You're not going to shame him, and you're not going to shame the person. And they are the masters of fake news. I mean, they tell you the sky is green, and have 30% of the Republicans will be like, yeah, it's green, right? Like, and we all know it's not green, but it doesn't matter. So, like, there is no shaming. There's no exposing of anything that will change these people.
Well, there is one thing. See,
and he's talking about people with power and money too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Your book, you know.
Exactly. Well, first of all, I will say this: the book, and because of that, the Senate and the House before it got changed over, are absolutely a disgrace, and they are responsible for this whole disposition that's taking place in this country. And so one of the things, and I just, as a personal note, I dedicated the book to John McCain.
Aww.
And I said, you know what, I dedicated this book to John McCain because he was the last Republican senator with any decency, integrity, or courage. So I'm looking at addressing what is taking place as, even like, look at Graham, who was so adamantly against Trump, and now he sides with Trump on every issue that
look at
comes
Cruz.
up.
Cruz,
oh,
that
Cruz,
he insulted
please.
his family and his wife.
Everything.
And then
it's
he had to
disgusting.
beg him to come down and help him with his election. Like, and now Trump is the greatest thing, and he says everything
exactly.
Trump says.
But I will tell you one thing that will change even the Republican side of the aisle on this, and it's, well, in chapter 4, after I talk about the puppet master who's really masterminding this. Oh my goodness!
But let me stop you. I'm sorry, and I don't want to keep interrupting you.
No, it's fine. It's fine, AJ.
The things that you're saying and what I can't get over keep making my case. Why are you still a Republican? Like, your answers are giving me you're giving me bullet points on why not to be a Republican.
Well, actually,
with everything that you're saying.
Well.
I'm just saying,
for all intents and purposes,
you're making the argument for me. Like,
yeah, AJ. For all intents and purposes, with this person, it's almost like, we got to weather the storm, and somehow he has to be stopped in 2020. Somehow he has to be stopped in 2020. But that's another issue. But then at the same time, you can look at certain things that transpired in the Democratic Party while I was a Democrat. And it was like, we just kind of I was one of those people who used to say, I'm a Democrat till I die, until one day I stopped and asked myself why. And then when I started, the first time it was brought to my attention that like Lyndon Johnson, when that name came up, and I was like, oh yeah, the Great Society, because that's what I learned in history. And then it was told to me, do you know that Lyndon Baines Johnson voted against every civil rights bill that ever came across his desk? And I'm like, are you serious? I had no idea, which goes to the point of you saying that a lot of times the Democratic Party want us to be misinformed and uninformed. And a lot of times as a Democrat, I just voted because the person was a Democrat. And then one day I kind of stepped back, took a look, and I began to realize that there's a lot of things that I did not know. And before 45, and as I began to look at certain things, there were just certain things that were taking place in the Democratic Party for me spiritually that didn't align with what I was living and believing.
So your answer was to go to the Republican Party?
No, but what I'm saying is pro-life became a serious issue for me, all right? Same-sex marriage is a serious issue for me. And these are the type of things that I was like saying, wow, we go to church every Sunday, and the preacher will stand up there in the pulpit and will will speak about these things.
Yeah, but
And
we have the overly religious people that are Republican that stand behind Trump.
Oh,
that were
the evangelical right. Oh, my God,
that
yes.
had nothing to say when he was separating children and half of the things he did.
I agree with
So,
you.
I mean,
and you want to know?
So we talking about religion as a whole. We're not just talking. You know.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. The evangelical right.
I have a comment from Jeff Monroe. Monroe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mount Vernon activist. He said, and this is a quote: "John McCain was a racist war hawk. That's an unfortunate endorsement." And then he said, if Mr. Sherrill has a well-informed, sound ideological, philosophical grounding for his solution, he can share it without harming his book sales. If he's just here to sell books, well, and that was his comment.
Well, first of all, it's not. This is beyond just selling a book. It is far beyond selling a book. This is a book with a purpose, and it is intentional. All right. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried about book sales. I am more concerned about everybody reading the information inside
Getting
of
the
the
message.
book. That is more important than anything else, because these are the things that will even make somebody from the alt-right have to stop and think, especially when you look at the detention centers, because you know what? This is not by chance. I will share this with you in about the detention centers, all right? Now, the individual I was talking about, the puppet master, he's a billionaire hedge fund owner, all right? Now, what he has done is, one of the things he's done, he has taken the pension from the United Federations of Teachers to invest in the detention centers that are run by major U.S. corporations that he is tied into with his hedge fund and with Vanguard, which he just bought a tremendous amount of growth stocks in it. I'm just telling you that there's one person responsible for what's happening to this 2016 debacle.
I keep getting stuck at, that's another reason not to be a Republican right now. Every time you say something, Robbie Mann's Republican, right? Is Robbie
Yes, he is.
Robbie Mann, a proud Republican, he said Trump is following Reagan's playbook. Actually, Reagan was the last white man that got in front of this country, said he was going to make America great again. And Robbie, that's what he was.
I love Robbie.
Trump didn't make that up. And Robbie said he wins 2020, talking about Trump. Louise Cherico said, so Johnson vetoed the Civil Rights Act.
She wants to know, did Johnson veto the Civil Rights
When he
Act?
was senator for Texas, he vetoed every civil rights bill that ever came across his desk as a senator, and he was one of the most powerful men in America when he was a senator.
As president, he didn't get behind the Civil Rights Act until protesters and black people, the civil rights activists, made so much damn noise.
Exactly.
So he didn't do, like with everything else in America, Latinos, women,
Yep.
African Americans, we didn't get these rights because it was the right thing to do. We got them because we fought and we made it uncomfortable. But Johnson did not go willingly into passing of the Civil Rights Act. It was something he had to do because
Absolutely.
if he didn't, there was going to be blood on the streets, and that was the only way to stop it. And he told Martin Luther King, and he also wanted Martin Luther King to be the head of that movement, not Malcolm, because he knew that Malcolm was a threat, so he wanted Martin Luther King to be head of that movement. But
And so then with that said, why be a Democrat with that knowledge?
I'm not either one.
I understand it, but I'm just saying.
But I'm saying I'm not either one.
I know that. You told me already.
I'm an independent. So, but I mean, party. Not true. JFK was not squeamish. No, JFK actually fought for. I was talking about Lyndon. I was talking about Johnson at that specific point, though. But JFK did something. Yeah, JFK did too much and he got killed. And then his brother tried to do too much and he got killed. They put an end to all that. So, I still don't see. Let me ask another question. So,
Okay.
I want you to tell me what you can tell me about that title without giving away your book.
Oh, the title is self-explanatory.
I mean, but like the theme, living. Say what's the title again?
The Life of a Black Republican in Trump's America. It's hell, bro.
I want you to tell me, share with our audience something without giving your book what that is like, because
Oh,
you are speaking from a perspective that most people in this that's listening to me cannot comprehend or cannot. What you're gonna say, they can't say because they're not in that situation. So, what is that like?
Well, what is it like? It's like you alienated from your own people because you're a Republican and not a Democrat.
Okay.
All right. And then in Trump's America, you got people who are walking around that would be ready to lynch you, like this, and be at the picnic like the senator from Mississippi who won the election that said she wouldn't mind going to one of these events, a good old fashioned lynching. And it's like if I was ever at a Trump rally, those group of people, alt-right people, even though if they even knew I was Republican, the fact that I'm black, they still would probably lynch me.
So what's my man Paul Anthony? What's his name? Paul Anthony.
Paul Anthony Cuesta.
So he was a former Republican when he came on this show, and then he wrote something for Black Westchester talking about he thought while he was sitting at these tables that these people had his best interests at heart, and he realized they did not, and that he could no longer stand with them, and he changed his party affiliation. It's he's not young because where he's here in Westchester. What part?
He's in Westchester.
Yeah, I know he's a black man in Westchester who was Republican, and I had a lot of these questions, and he was even defending some of the early stuff that Trump was doing, but he realized that these people,
Trump.
he realized that these people, like you're representing a group of people that you're sitting at the table that have no respect for you. I'm not saying that the Democrats have any more respect for you, but I'm just saying they obviously don't. They express it. They don't care about you. They don't care about none of us. How that affiliation has to, you have to be torn. It has to be.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example, especially, and that's why I brought that whole thing up about being integrated at an early age. All right, where the backlash from integration was tremendous in this country. All right, but King stayed the course with it, and look at the change, and look at where we are today, because he didn't all of a sudden decide, these 4 girls got killed, I'm going to abandon my platform. I'm going to abandon what I'm doing. Integration, we should never do integration. And he stayed with it, and now we are at the highest levels of learning in the whole world.
So are you comparing fighting for the civil rights as fighting for a black person in the Republican Party?
Well, see, this is what I believe. I believe that there's opportunity to bring change and integrate and bring inclusiveness into that party.
Yes.
If you change some of those good old boys who I am very familiar with, because I was dealing with them when I was in the Texaco discrimination lawsuit. I know what they're like, and I know how they get, I know how they approach things. I know how they feel. But I'm saying that, you know what? You just keep getting more involved. And I've had conversations, and I have some good friends who are members of the Tea Party, and I never would think that I would be friends with anybody at the Tea Party. Nor would I ever believe that I would have police officers that I am very good friends with.
Well, all police are not bad. There's a lot of good police out there.
There's a lot of good police. But see, that's what I'm saying. Until you get to understand and know somebody, it's easy to pass judgment if you don't encounter them.
You said you had a Tea Party comment. We had a Tea Party comment earlier. Louis Sherrill said, does he know that the Tea Party pulled up in a pickup truck and bullhorn demanding for President Obama to come out with his hands up?
That doesn't surprise me.
But
that doesn't surprise me. But see, this is what I'm saying.
Those are the people that inspired you to be a Republican.
No. But see, that group of people, the group of people that I met, but they weren't from Westchester. I know they wasn't from the Westchester County Tea Party. They were a different group of individuals. Now, I will admit there were some people in that Tea Party that, boy, oh boy, they definitely sound like them good old boys in the South. I am not oblivious to who they are and the stereotypes and the belief systems. But what I had to do is to change that belief system, just like we did when I got integrated into the school system when I was 8 years old, and they laughed at me because I didn't know how to write script, because they wasn't even teaching us script over there in the schools on the South Side. But you want to know what? When it came time to do math, I was a genius in math, and they couldn't laugh any longer. And so you deal with these battles, you fight these battles, and you break these stereotypes, and you break these barriers of entry. It's always going to be a battle for us.
So how do you feel? How do you feel about the Republican Party right now would like to basically strip all the rights that black and brown people have, period. That's what it means to make America great again. They want to get rid of the
I'm
civil
not oblivious
rights.
to that.
They want to get rid of civil rights. They want to literally take away the right to vote. They want to nullify all those amendments in the Bill of Rights. I mean, that's their agenda, and the colluder in chief that we have in there now, his job, he wants to, if he doesn't, it's a fear. If he doesn't win, we could be in a civil war.
I saw that.
We could be in a civil war because
That's
of the
very
people
real.
that support him
Yeah.
will not let go of power. Like, we could literally, him losing could be could just be the brink of civil war. And that's dangerous. Like,
It's very
you know what I'm
dangerous.
saying? And this dude is on the level of, I don't think he's above, if I can't stay in this house, nobody's going to ever stay in this house, and he burns the house down. Like, literally, that is the type of person we're dealing with. And that's what it means to have the R by your name right now. Like, that's the head of the party right now who runs the party.
And he's a puppet. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Jeff Monroe said, okay, Mr. Sherrill is apparently a conservative, motivated by a right-wing point of view. He seems to have an emotional opposition to the Democratic based on his experience with the charlatans of the professional activist tradition. If, however, he is not just another person waiting for his turn to cash in on the exploitation that is the U.S., why is he not a progressive?
Progressive Democrat?
Progressive, period.
I am progressive. If you read any of my literature, it is, well, like you said, maybe beyond some people's comprehension. But then again, it's very interesting. The fact that to be a pioneer, it's almost like being a pioneer. It's almost like being on your own to go ahead and do this. But you want to know what? Sometimes if you believe in what you're doing, it doesn't matter what the critics say. But you want to know what? When you change this thing, when you change it, and that's all my goal and intention and my purpose is to change this party.
I got one comment for you. Cicely Greaves.
Now I got a new ally.
Cicely Greaves said, bottom line, one must be in a place where they feel they need to be instinctively.
Absolutely.
It actually shows strength and character. We have to know for ourselves where we need to be. And coming to the close of the show, I wanted you to address that and, again, talk about when your book's coming out and where people could get it, and if there's a website or something where people can read more about it and pre-order and all that stuff.
Okay. The statement that was just made
Yes.
is probably head on and very accurate.
That's Cicely. That's
And
always head on.
only you know where you're supposed to be if you're living in divine purpose. Maybe I've been hanging out with those too long. Nah, but seriously, when you find your purpose, see, in life, everybody has a purpose and everybody has goals and gifts. And every now and then, it seems like every 5 years, I'm inspired to write something for myself. Like I waited and I wrote the book about the Texaco racial discrimination lawsuit. Not so much about what was going on in Texaco, but what went on in Texaco, but really what went on with when Jesse and Al and Deval Patrick came in there and basically raped the class out of $35 million. That was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. And then I was inspired to leave the Democratic Party for the Republican Party, and so I wrote a book called Exodus. Because, see, there comes a time where you have to leave the plantation, and it comes a time when you have to leave Egypt, and it's like, where do I go? Just like when we had to leave the plantations in the South, a lot of people left, and a lot of people stayed because they didn't know where they were going. And so sometimes in life, you are called to do things that are not popular. And if Martin would have listened to the people who was with him in Selma, he would have never marched on Selma.
Right. Okay, I want
So these are the type of things that lead you to where you're going.
I'm going to get back to the book, the announcement of the book.
Yes.
One last question from
Yes,
Jeff.
sir.
Well, a comment. First, I don't know if you saw the comment. Cicely told us she's in India a long time ago.
I know.
Yeah, and she said, yo, thank you for divine purpose. That's why I'm in India. Jeff Monroe, and I need you to answer this briefly, really briefly.
Real briefly.
If we look at Pelosi and Schumer, what they're doing to AOC, well, we'll see that there's no such thing as a progressive Democrat. Please briefly,
yes, sir,
describe what makes you progressive.
My intellect, my educational background, being a father, having children, one daughter who's graduated out of college, one son who's in college at Wake Forest, doing incredible things. Just my involvement and concern about my fellow man and my fellow human being. And that is why the change has to come, and it has to come within the Republican Party, and this party can do great things.
Okay, and last, I want to get back to
Where's the book?
When does the book come out? Where can it be purchased? Is there a website or anything, pre-orders, or where people can read more about the book and contact you? All that stuff.
All that stuff. Okay. It's in the developments. The website's in the development stage, but the book will be out in, I would say, between 2 and 4 weeks, because it's going into production on Monday. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take to do the ebook and the hard copy, but it'll be out within 2 to 4 weeks. I'll be posting on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and keeping everybody apprised. It'll have a landing page. The name of the book is The Life of a Black Republican in Trump's America. It's dedicated to Senator John McCain, who was he perfect? No. Are any of them perfect? No. Although he would stand up.
No, I give him credit for standing up.
I give him credit, and that's all I'm saying. Stand him up.
I didn't agree with a lot of stuff, but I give him credit for standing up.
I give him credit, and that's what I'm saying.
So is there a website?
No, the website
John
is in
McCain
development.
was a great man.
No, I just said I didn't say. I said I didn't.
He
agree
was
with
an amazing.
Right? No,
amazing.
and I just said I didn't agree with him on everything, but
Yeah.
I appreciate.
Yeah,
it,
and that's where and that there's an underlying movement of Lincoln Republicans in this party, and they're quiet right now. But with people like my dear friend over here, we know what needs to take place.
So okay. Do you have a website where all your books are on? People can look at.
Well, my books are basically on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Okay, you don't have like a PeterSherrill.com.
No. I just write sparingly for myself, and I just publish other people when they want to share a story, and that's what I do. It's just a gift. And
social media where people can follow you.
Pete Sherrill at Facebook.com. Peter W. Sherrill, Twitter.
Just spell it out too.
SHERRILL. I think ERRILL. LinkedIn. Where am I at on LinkedIn? I think it's Pete Sherrill on LinkedIn, and I'm Peter W. Sherrill.
Peter W. Sherrill on Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah. I have 2 pages, actually, a personal and a business page we're developing.
I want to thank you for coming in.
I thank you for allowing me.
I want to thank you for sharing, even though I don't agree with you on some things. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being bold enough to write a book about being a black Republican in the Trump era. You
it's bold, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that takes a little something to do that.
That's pretty cool.
I don't. Again.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you being bold enough to write it. People, if you like what you heard, make sure you go out and get it. Even if you disagree, then tell them why you disagree. Thank you.
Read it first.
Thank you for coming. Right. I want to just thank you again for coming. And,
thank you, AJ, for having me, man. I really appreciate it. No
doubt. So when it's out, we'll send a link where it's out and everything like that. So
thank you, AJ. Appreciate you, man.
No doubt. Keep doing what you do, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.